Get your copy today of Veteran Led from author and CEO John Barry. Available at Amazon.
Fighting for the values that make Nebraska the good life. This is Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, we have a big drop. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Welcome to Drive Time Nebraska. Today we've got great news from the Lincoln Police Department and Lincoln Public Schools with a significant drop in the numbers of calls for service from school resource officers over the last year. That's a trend that we should be really grateful for. So I'll dig into those numbers in the second half of the show. But to kick things off today, this is the type of show that I absolutely love because we get to help out and do some personal development, business development, dig into life. I love doing this type of show. We're excited to have John Barry, CEO of Barry Law, in the studio. He's also a former U.S. Army platoon leader. And he's joined us. We've talked about this book the last couple of weeks called Veteran Led that he just came out with. And I'm excited to hear more about these leadership lessons that he's put into word now that he's learned from the trenches. And then you can apply this not only to your personal life, but to your business life as well. So, John, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Doug.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun. Let's start out with this. For people who may not know you, obviously people know your name. They know your picture. We see you, on advertisements and around the city and around the state. But give us, a little bit about your story, where you came from, and ultimately to how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I was a paper boy for the Journal-Star when I was 10 years old back in 1984, and did tasseled corn, played sports, and went to Lincoln Southeast High School until I turned 16. Then I went to New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, my last years of high school. Went to the College of William & Mary, played football there, played with Mike Tomlin and Sean McDermott.
Nice.
And when I say played, I sat on the bench. And then
Did you get them water?
Yeah, I got them water. They were great leaders on and off the field, so it's no surprise that they're both NFL coaches right now, right? And so one's Bills, one's Steelers, but both phenomenal leaders. So, as I had a pretty serious injury my second year in and realized I was not going to take 5 years to graduate. I was going to graduate in 4, not going to have that red shirt year. And I wanted to challenge myself. And having gone to a military school, I was familiar with what an airborne ranger was. And I spent all this time trying to bulk up, worry about my 40-yard dash time, how much I could bench, how much I could squat. And it was all about getting bigger, stronger, faster. And I'm watching this documentary on the Army Rangers and Ranger School. And these guys are, being deprived of food and sleep, running missions with over a 2-month period, losing 30, 40, 50 pounds, and just sucking it up under the harshest conditions. And they called that a leadership school. And I'm like, leadership? Like, this is pure suffering. There's no leadership involved. But as I learn more about it, it's still that's how you become a leader. You face the most difficult conditions and you lead America's best into those conditions. So after I graduated from college as an English major, I was commissioned as an infantry officer in the Army, and I went through Army Ranger School. And the first time I went through, I was pumped up. I tried to go in as heavy as I could because I knew I was going to lose weight, but in the best shape of my life. And I got through the mountain phase right at the end, and I injured my shoulder pretty bad. And I was trying to kind of hide my injury because I didn't want to be medically discharged, and I failed my patrol. So now I'm injured, I'm kicked out, and I got to wait 6 months to have a chance to go back.
Jeez. And
I go to the branch manager, and they're like, well, John, you can just go to Fort Hood right now, which is now Fort Cavazos, or you can try again. I'm like, well, there's no question. And I learned a lot when I stopped playing football after my first injury. I had to quit. I was told you cannot have contact for 1 year. And back then, you would carry the cords behind the coach, on the sideline. I said, I'm not going to do that. My dream was to be a college football player, and then I realized, it's probably not going to happen. I got a year where I can't have contact, and if I come back, I may be able to play, I may not. And I just decided that's not what I wanted to do. But that moment I quit, that was the most painful moment of my life.
I was going to ask about that because my son played baseball in college. And the moment that you get an injury, you're always questioning in your head, is this it? Because you give your whole life basically to that point to try to achieve that, and then it's taken away. How did you deal with that?
Not well. It took me a long time to get over the fact that, I could have stuck it out, and maybe I would have recovered, and maybe I'd continue to have, be able to practice through contact drills and eventually get into a game. But I was at the point where I realized I didn't want to sacrifice another year of college to maybe get a chance to play.
Right.
So I quit. And that decision, it still haunts me. I still have nightmares about it. So when I failed out of Army Ranger School the first time, there was no question I was going back because I was not going to put myself through that ever
That's
again.
how you dealt with it. You went back. Yes.
Yeah, that's the way you deal with failure. You go back. And look, quitting, it's easy in the moment, but living with it, I mean, that ghost, it follows you around.
Yeah. So let's, you just wrote a book that really encapsulates what you learned through your military experience. And I'm excited to be able to share it with our listeners. It's called Veteran Led, Military Leadership Lessons to Help Your Team Survive, Thrive, and Dominate. Why did you write this book?
There are a few reasons. If you really look at it broadly, that is the leadership manual for our law firm. If you want to know how to be a leader at Berry Law, there's the answers. In some ways, it's an operations manual, but I wanted to write the leadership manual for the firm. We learned a lot of lessons, and we didn't learn them well enough. You learn that lesson, you feel the pain, and then you learn the lesson again, right? And the best cheap lessons in life are everybody else's screw-ups. If you can learn from somebody else screwing up, that's a cheap lesson. It's a great investment. So I wanted to save team members from some of my failures. That was number one. Number two came back to my dad's mission, which, was helping veterans get the benefits that they earned. And so, we had a case, a veteran in a large metro community who was homeless, living under a bridge for over a decade because the VA had denied him his benefits. This was a combat veteran from Vietnam. And of course, he had other issues related to his PTSD, secondary to his PTSD, such as drug and alcohol addiction and other problems that come along with mental health issues.
Sure.
And those were untreated. And he went to the VA and they denied him care. But he filed a claim. And so at that time, my dad was representing a lot of veterans pro bono, meaning he was not getting paid. He would just do it as part of legal services representing veterans. They would say, hey, I have a problem. I need money to hire a lawyer. And my dad would say, well, you're going to need to pay a lawyer, but also your financial situation, you're probably entitled to benefits. Let me help you. So he did that pro bono for several years until lawyers could start to get paid for that. Well, I'll take you back to the guy under the bridge. We'll call him Tommy. So my dad learns about Tommy from another client. My dad goes and sees Tommy and finds out that, yes, he did file a claim. The VA didn't do anything with that claim. And it took several other years for Tommy finally to get all of the benefits that he earned, which came out to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in back pay that the government owed him for his service to take care of those disabilities that he sustained serving our country. And so for my father, this was a big thing because Tommy not only got the back pay award, but then he got treatment from the VA and he got better and he got married, he had kids and he got a job and then he started a company and he owned a house. And the premise of Veteran Led is, the whole time Tommy was under the bridge, he had all the skills he needed to build and lead a company. And every veteran has those skills. What I'm not talking about here is stuff, I learned in the Command General Staff College or advanced Army officer stuff. These were basic lessons that every member of the military knows. Doesn't matter your branch, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard, whatever. You know these lessons because these are the basic leadership lessons that you learn at your boot camp, your basic training, and throughout your first couple years. I would say everybody knows these. And there's a great guy out there. His name's Jerry Flanagan, J-Dog Hauling. And they haul junk. He's got about 300 franchises nationwide. And I mean, he was just a specialist in E4, one enlistment, right? And grows this huge national franchise based on what he had learned in the military. And so, I started meeting all these people and we represent over 10,000 veterans nationwide. We've got veteran clients in every state. And what happens is they get their benefits. We take care of them and they're like, but what's next? And I don't have a mission anymore. I don't have a team anymore. It's great that, I can take care of my family. I'm not going to be homeless. But now that I have some money and I have some security, how do I give back? And I said, well, serve your community, start a company. Small businesses, the backbone of America. Nobody better to run them than the backbone of the military, the non-commissioned officer. So I'm like, go do these things. And but they say, but I don't have the skills. I'm like, no, you do have the skills. And that's what that book is about because it took me a while as I was struggling to take over my dad's law firm and run it to really learn that I had the skills I needed to be successful all along. I just didn't recognize it.
Yeah, that's what the book provides. And I've always appreciated what you and your dad have done in supporting our veterans. And speaking of that, you are going to be part of the Lincoln Veterans Day Parade, your Master of Ceremonies. That's coming up on Sunday, as a matter of fact. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah,
that's a big honor.
Yeah, looking forward to it. The parade is a great thing for our veterans and for our community, and I think for young members of our community to learn about that we, as Americans, honor service. You know, it's so crazy to me that a lot of young people now are confused. They don't know what they want to do with their future. And what I find, I start asking questions, they don't know anything about service. They don't know anything about sacrifice. And had they maybe committed to being involved in something greater than themselves, they would feel a sense of purpose. And so my hope is that as members of our community come out there from Lincoln and beyond, hopefully Omaha and other parts of Nebraska, that they get to see how we honor our nation's heroes, right? Because that's important. Yes. How we treat our veterans matter. And, you can go back and look at the shameful way we withdrew from Vietnam, the shameful way we withdrew from Afghanistan. Yes. That is disgraceful. How does that make a young man or woman who's thinking about joining the military think, oh, what does our military stand for? They're just going to withdraw, abandon. You see the way we spat on our Vietnam veterans when they came back, right, from service. And they were homeless. Did we take care of them? No. How does that affect that young man or woman who thinks they want to serve, right? We can't have that. We as a nation must do better. We as a community must do better. And we have to appreciate our veterans. But here's the thing. It's a two-way street, right? Because the veteran community, this is a secret to success at Berry Law. We hire veterans. We hire proven leaders who have led missions, who can come into the civilian world and do the same thing, right? Leadership is hard, but it's real hard when you've never done it. That's why, at Berry Law, we look for college athletes, we look for military veterans, but people who have been in leadership positions and want to lead again. Because look, not everybody wants to lead, and that's okay. But if you want to scale a business, your ability to scale is directly proportional to the number of high-achieving leaders that you have on your team.
Team, man. We've talked about it. Surround yourself with people that are successful and that are even at different levels than you are, and you see success. The Lincoln Veterans Day Parade is this Sunday, starts at 2 o'clock. It's on K Street, starts at 21st Street, and it will finish at 14th Street in front of the Capitol. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, John's going to give us some more information about his book. I want to talk a little bit about boundaries and developing high-performance teams, but also maybe if there's one specific thing in this book that you want people to understand and know about. I want to get to that. I also saw that Bob Carey endorsed you on the back of the book. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty neat.
Great American.
All right. Well, if you have a question or comment, call the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line 402-479-1400. Plus, your chance to win at Fantasy Huskers is right around the corner. Thanks so much for listening to Drive Time Nebraska. We'll be back right after this.
Leadership isn't about titles. It's about fostering a culture of discipline, trust, and action. I'm John Barry, and in Veteran Led, I share mission-focused strategies drawn from my experiences in the military and beyond. Whether you're managing a small team or a large organization, this book is designed to help you become an even better leader. Master the fundamentals, perform under pressure, and build teams that dominate. Get your copy of Veteran Led today and start building a winning team.
Well, today we're joined in the studio by John Barry, CEO of Berry Law and former U.S. Army platoon leader. He has a brand new book out called Veteran Led, Leadership Lessons from the Trenches, and he's been walking us through that. If you could tell our listeners one thing in this book, one principle, one chapter, what would it be that you think is most important?
I think it would be the most universal one to the military, which is the buddy team. The day you show up at boot camp or basic training, you are assigned a buddy. You do not go to the latrine without your buddy. You do not go to chow without your buddy. You don't shower without your buddy.
Really?
And yeah, you have
I didn't
that
know
person.
That. I didn't serve, so I didn't know that.
It's all about accountability, right? And if you can't lead one person, you can't lead 100 people, right? So you got to be able to lead one person. You got to have that buddy, and that accountability stays with you. And so throughout your military career, you're going to have a buddy. When I went through Ranger School, like I said, I failed out the first time. Second time, I went straight through because my Ranger buddy, Jeremy Jilks, a West Pointer, great dude, also a college athlete, we had each other's back. And, when you're going through Ranger School and you're deprived of food and sleep, you're going to make mistakes, and you need a buddy to always be watching your six. And Jilks was that guy for me. So I had a great buddy team. And then when I was a platoon leader, my buddy was my first sergeant. And then when I was was my platoon sergeant. And then when I was a company commander in Iraq, my buddy was my first sergeant. Actually, we just had lunch with him today. And then, then I became a battalion commander. I ran the officer and warrant officer candidate school. And then my buddies my buddy was my chief TAC officer. He's the black hat who's running around smoking everybody. And then my chief instructor to make sure everybody was trained to standard. And so your success rises and falls based on those buddies. And so in the corporate world, right here, I have Holly Mock, she's a sergeant first class in the reserves, but she's my, executive assistant, or now my chief of staff. I have a chief operating officer. He's my buddy that runs the staff. Anytime I try a case, I have another lawyer trying that case with me. I always have a buddy system. No one does it on their own. And when you have two people, it's usually multiplication, not addition. When you have a good buddy. Now, I've also seen when you have a bad buddy, it's bad, right? And we've all had the buddy who drug us down, who was a non-performer, and maybe we got stuck with them, or maybe we just didn't have the guts to terminate them or to move on or to have that discussion, right? And sometimes it's not even their fault, right? Sometimes we're just not a good match,
right.
And we've been there, right?
Or it's for a season, like you just been talking about, right? It's for a season.
Yeah, no, and you really have to know who you are to know who's going to be the best buddy for you. And I can go back to my first marriage, wonderful woman, but that's not who I want to be now. Now my wife is falsely accused, called Mallory Hughes. She is a fierce trial lawyer. She's a winner. She grew up an Olympic development skier, college soccer player. I need to be around winners that push the envelope and push me to be better. So in my marriage, I realized that that's the buddy team that I want. And other people want different types of relationships, and that's fine. But the great thing about life is we get to choose who our buddies are most of the time, unless you're in the military and they stick you with a dirt bag, and you just got to suck it up and be the buddy, deal with the toxic leader or whatever you're stuck with until you get the opportunity to move along. But it's important to select who that buddy is going to be to you. Who's going to be that accountability partner? Who is going to push you to be more, right? The best buddies are going to always call you out on your garbage and say, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You can do better. You can do more. The worst buddies are like, hey, come on, man. Just have a drink. Chill out with me. You don't need to go running this morning. You don't need to do that. Those people, they're energy vampires. They just suck the energy out of you, right? But the buddies, the great buddies, bring so much energy with them because they want you to succeed, right? And when you have a great buddy team, there's no jealousy. Your success is my success. And when you succeed, every leader knows this. We all want our subordinate leaders to surpass us. And so when I have a buddy that's doing better than me, I'm so proud. Usually I'm happier than the buddy.
Yes.
Yeah. But man, I love a good buddy who will push me beyond my limits and be like, John, suck it up, man. Come on. And just call me out. That's the best buddy team for me. Now, sometimes you need that buddy, to calm you down. Sometimes you're a little bit too fired up, but for the most part, I think the best buddy teams that I've been on, we were both hard chargers and we're going to get this done and we're in this together. And I've got your back. You've got mine. We both know that we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. Feedback is a gift. Great buddies will give you feedback. And it's great feedback when it hurts, when it feels like a dagger in your heart. That's when you got the right buddy.
Yep. Well, I'm excited to read chapter 2 of the buddy system, page 33. I'm here. By the way, if you're on social media, here it is right here. Here it is. And I appreciate that. I'm so glad that you said that. I have a buddy. Her name is Tracy. She's in Colorado. We've been success partners, what we call it, for years now. And we have a little term that we use back and forth, back to back to finish well. That's it. We want to fight back to back to finish well, to get to that next level and help each other achieve that. So let's, before we close things out, you have a podcast that I'm excited to hear about. Tell us about the podcast. And it's called Veteran Led, correct?
Yeah, so actually, once again, another story about a failure. This book, Veteran Led, the book was supposed to be done in 2022. And we ran into some issues with the publisher, and I have all this content, right? And I don't know, okay, it's going to take me, I'm thinking, to make this book the way I want it, it's going to take me another year to write this. And so I'm thinking, what do I do with the content? And so I had a friend, he's like, well, who actually served with me in the military. He's like, dude, you get people fired up. Just do a podcast. So I just started going through the chapters and doing 10, 20-minute segments, hitting the key points of the chapters. And then I started to bring on guests like our own Senator Tom Brewer, and then General David Petraeus, and some phenomenal guests, some phenomenal leaders. And what we talk about is the premise of the book, which is if you served in the military, you have the skills to be successful. And if you didn't serve in the military, that's okay. Get your head on right and hire a veteran. Hire someone who served in the military to unscrew your organization. Because right now you are jacked up if you don't have a veteran on your team. You don't have that person who knows how to execute, that person who knows service, who knows commitment, who knows about mission first, people always. Your company is screwed. You need to find a veteran to help you lead. And so for me, mission first, people always. And so as I started building out the podcast, I started finding a lot more like-minded people. And that's great in business for referrals because if I connect with you and you believe in my message, you probably are going to support my organization, right? And I'm going to want to support yours. And so some of these people were vendors or people that I knew from the military or people that I wanted to know. And it was amazing to me in the military community, the way people would reach out. And I have a great story. There was a guy, I did a podcast on a successful business person, and some troll reached out and told me I needed to take it down because he was a scumbag, And I talked to that business leader and I said, hey, just, this is kind of weird. And he's like, I said, I'm not going to take it down. I just want to let you know it's up. He's like, oh my God, my wife has, been really bothered by that. So his wife's like, yeah, hey, and his wife has a very successful podcast. And she's like, hey, yeah, that really bothered me. I know you guys don't care, but it bothers me. She's like, but it makes me want to help you. Here's my podcast. Here's everybody I've had. I will make warm introductions and get them on your podcast because I believe in what you're doing.
That's good. That's good. And that's on any podcast service? Veteran-led, just search it?
Yeah, any social platform, any podcast service. Yep, veteran-led. And once again, some of it is me talking about leadership. A lot of the good stuff is other leaders talking about leaderships from other industries, anything from, government contracting to food service to IT services. I mean, it's all the same. Leadership is leadership. And while your industry may be different, right, the veteran brings that same level of professionalism that we generally find lacking in a lot of the businesses we try to work with today. I mean, part of it was I was looking for great vendors. And so I was trying to hire vendors who are run by veterans so I could have that CEO to CEO relationship and we can have that conversation. We demand excellence. Look, I want you to be the vendor. I really do. But if you're a veteran, we know what the standard is. And we know that me as a leader, if I drop the standard because you as a vendor fail, I'm doing a disservice to my team and I'm doing a disservice to you. And I say that with a knife hand, right? I'm doing a disservice to you because you as a veteran, you know that your team deserves better. Because here's the deal. As we get older, we get to choose who we are a hero to. I got that from Dan Sullivan, another veteran.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah. But we get to choose who we're going to be a hero to. And people come to join our organizations because we have a vision. And we as leaders must have the follow-through and the guts to see that vision into reality. And if not, then everybody who sacrificed their time to come work for us, we have failed them. And as leaders, we know that. Look, when I deployed to Iraq, I was told, you are charged with the lives of America's sons and daughters. You're leaving with 133 soldiers. Your job is to accomplish your mission and bring them home, right? And we take that personally in the military. And it's the same thing we get in the civilian world. We're still responsible for America's sons and daughters to build their future. They joined our team, and it's on us to give them the future that we promised them, which is a bigger and better future and a future of opportunity that leaders should and morally must provide.
All right, grab your copy of Veteran Led. You can see it right now on social media on any of our 8 platforms. Go to Amazon.com. or anywhere fine books are sold. You can go to barrylaw.com right now for pre-launch. You can order it. You can also order it when it's released on Monday, by the way. And also, if you want to see John in person, he's going to be the master of ceremonies at Lincoln's Veteran Day Parade this Sunday, 2 o'clock on K Street, finishing up at the Capitol. So, John, thank you so much for coming in. Looking forward to having you back.
Thanks so much for having me, Doug. It's been an honor.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to take another...
I'm John Barry, and I wrote Veteran Led because leadership is more than a position, it's an obligation. Drawing from my time as an Army platoon leader and as the CEO of Barry Law, I share the principles that help me lead in some of the most challenging environments. In Veteran Led, you'll learn how to build resilience, foster trust, and create a team that doesn't just survive under pressure, but thrives and dominates. Pick up your copy of Veteran Led today and start leading with even more confidence.